Okay. See, in today's topic, we are going to discuss about this plant growth and development. At the background, you can see the germination of a seed. So they are growing and developing. So from cotyledons, the initial level of the seed germination, so the radicle enters into the soil and they are going to form the taproot system. And since it is a dicotyledon seed, I'm talking about this, and they are above the ground. So epigeal germination you can notice. And cotyledons will be providing the initial source of food. Still the leaf develops and they form the and they can undergo the photosynthesis till that stage. So the cotyledon will be providing the food for the developing plant. So you can see the plant growth. It's an irreversible process. Increase in length, mass, size, and volume of an organism with respect to time. Okay, and it's an irreversible increase in size, uh, mass and volume of an organism with reference to time. We call it as growth. So growth involves three steps: cell division, cell elongation, and cell differentiation or cell maturation. All these three has to take place. So now the plant growth and development, the growth, it follows a sigmoid curve. So we'll be studying about that sigmoid curve. So initially their growth will be having a lag phase, then they have a log phase, grand period of growth or exponential growth where maximum growth takes place, and then there would be a steady phase. So we'll study about that sigmoid curve of growth development also. And then there are hormones which play an important role in uh, regulating growth. They can either promote growth or they can inhibit growth. So we'll also be studying about this phytohormones or growth regulators, plant growth regulators, which are nothing but phytohormones or hormones. We'll be studying 5 types of hormones. So we are going to study about auxins, then gibberellins, cytokinins, abscisic acid, and ethylene. So abscisic acid and ethylene, they are growth inhibitors. They prevent the growth. So the auxins, gibberellins, and cytokinins, they promote growth. So there are growth promoters and growth inhibitors in the growth regulators. So that we will be studying about. Ethylene is the only gaseous hormone, so which brings about the ripening of fruits. So the fruits ripen up, and that is brought about by this ethylene gas. So we'll all be discussing this interesting uh, chapter of it, how even plants have hormones and how they affect their growth and development. We'll be studying under this topic. Okay. See, a very important aspect. All plant cells are descendants of the zygote or fertilized egg. So many times I would be telling my students also, see, what you are celebrating as a birthday is not a birthday. That is the day that you were given birth to. But your life has started as a zygote. We all start our life as an individual cell, that is zygote. The day we formed a zygote, that is the exact day we came into life. That zygote underwent a lot of changes to form the embryo, and that embryo developed to form the uh, plant, in case of plant, and in case of human beings, an infant, and then that developed into uh, the adult. So if at all you have to remember, when did you become a your exact date of birth is as a zygote. So all plant cells are descendants of the zygote or fertilized egg. Okay. So the zygote develops. So we know about this. We have studied this already. So the zygote develops into a mature plant through growth and differentiation, and they form roots, leaves, branches, flowers, fruits, and seeds. Then they eventually die. So you can notice from zygote, they begin their life cycle. So their commencement of their life cycle, or they are as a living organism the day they are a zygote. So zygote is a fertilized egg. So where two gametes would have fused, male and female gametes would have fused to form the zygote. So zygote undergoes division to form two-celled embryo. Then there is eight-celled embryo with suspensor. Okay. Then there is globular embryo. So where the embryo becomes globular in shape. So the suspensor sizes is also going to get reduced, and this is the suspensor. Then they are going to form this heart-shaped embryo. Heart-shaped embryo. So zygote, two cells, eight-celled embryo, globular embryo, heart-shaped embryo, then torpedo embryo, where they have the cotyledons being developed. So cotyledons are also called as seed leaves, leaves of the seed. So that is a very good name for cotyledons. So cotyledons are called as leaves of the seed. Okay, seed leaves, torpedo embryo. You can notice the cotyledons, which we also call it as seed leaves. Then they develop into the mature plant. So this is how the growth and differentiation is going to take place. See, they have differentiated from zygote to two cell. They have differentiated to eight cell embryo, globular embryo, heart shaped embryo, then torpedo embryo. Then finally, they have differentiated to form root system, shoot system. So this growth and differentiation are taking place simultaneously, and they are going to form the roots, leaves, stem, branches, flowers, fruit, and seeds. Then they finally, when they reach, when they attain every step of their life cycle, then they eventually die. So this is what is seen in case of development of a plant. Not only in plants, but even in animals, even in human beings, all our life commences as a single-celled zygote. So I told you that your precise birthday would be the day you were a zygote. Okay, all plant cells are also descendants of the zygote, the fertilized egg. So the plant growth, you have a beautiful backdrop slide showing the germination of seed, initial growth that you are seeing here. So this is the plant growth. So let us define growth. Growth is an irreversible, permanent increase in size of an organ or its parts or an individual cell. So growth is an irreversible. See, a tree which has grown up cannot grow back into a seed or a seedling. That is not possible. So that is why we call growth is an irreversible, permanent increase in size of an organ. It can be a fruit, it can be the stem, it can be the root. So growth is an irreversible, permanent increase in the size of an organ or its parts or an individual cell. So growth involves metabolic processes that consume energy. So there is a lot of expenditure of energy during the growth of an uh, plant. So growth involves a lot of metabolic processes which consumes energy. So growth involves metabolic processes that consumes energy. That is the definition of growth. Growth is an irreversible, permanent increase in the size of an organ or a plant or its part or an individual cell. So growth involves metabolic processes which consume large amount of energy. See, plant growth generally is indeterminate. So they go on growing throughout their lifetime. Plant growth generally is indeterminate. It is indefinite. Okay. So plant growth continues throughout the life due to the presence of meristems. So the shoot apical meristem, then you have this root apical meristem, then intercalary meristem, lateral meristems. So the plant growth continues throughout its life due to the presence of meristems. Okay, the meristematic cells have the capacity to divide and self-perpetuate. That is, increase in their numbers. So meristematic cells have the ability to undergo, uh, have the capacity to rapidly divide and self-perpetuate. So the growth where new cells are always added to the plant body by the activity of the meristem is called as open form of growth. So this growth where the new cells are always added to the plant body by the activity of the meristem, we call it as the open form of growth. By the activity of meristem, we call it as open form of growth. So the growth where new cells are always added to the plant body due to the activity of meristem like shoot apical meristem or root apical meristem or lateral or intercalary meristem, this activity of these meristems. So we call this type of growth as open form of growth, which we notice in case of plants. So plant growth continues throughout its life. It is not like in case of human beings, we have growth up to 18 years of age or maximum all the growth would be maximum up to 21 years of age, and that's the final stages. So there is no more growth, only the dead and worn out cells are replaced. That is in case of human beings or animals. So but in case of plant, the growth is it continues throughout its lifetime due to the presence of meristems. So the growth of where the new cells are actively added to the plant body by the activity of meristem, we call it as open form of growth. Open form of growth is due to the activity of meristem. So plant growth,
Sir,
yes.
sir, what is the meaning of perpetuate?
Hmm?
Perpetuate, sir, in the previous slide. Meristematic cell.
Perpetuate means continuous. Okay. So perpetuates means continuation, or here it means their increase in number, perpetuation, multiplication. Similar to that, it is replication, multiplication. Okay. Perpetuate is generally literal meaning is the continue. Okay. So
Okay,
where
sir.
is that self-perpetuate means they are able to uh, so the capacity to divide and self-perpetuate means increase in their number. Okay, so that is what it is. Meristematic cells. It is an automated process. Self-perpetuate. Okay, self uh, continuity and self-increase. It implies divide
Okay,
and self-perpetuate. See, meristematic cells after division, they are not going to be lost. There is going to be again a set of meristematic cells which will be going on. So that is, they are self-perpetuating. They are self-increasing themselves. After the division of cells, it doesn't mean that is the end of the meristematic cell. It continues, isn't it? At the shoot tip, it continues. At the root tip, the meristem continues. Okay, that is what it means as they themselves are also increasing, they themselves are also continuing meristematic cells. That is what here the sentence self perpetuate means. So they are also increasing in their numbers. After the cell division, it doesn't mean that they are going to stop. So the meristematic tissues, they are going to continue because they would have also increased themselves, self perpetuate. Okay, they are also going to develop meristematic cells of the own type. Self perpetuation is also there. Fine. The next part, what we are going to see is the plant growth generally is indeterminate. So we know about that. So there is two types of growth. Primary growth, it occurs due to the root apical meristem and shoot apical meristem. So it causes the elongation of the plant. So you can notice that the elongation of plants along their axis, the primary growth, increase in their length. So that is going to happen because of primary growth, majorly because of the activity of root apical meristem and shoot apical meristem. Even the activity of the intercalary meristem also facilitates the increase in the length of the plant. So elongation of plants along the axis or increase in the length of the plant is because of this uh, primary growth. The secondary growth, it takes place in gymnosperms and dicotyledonous plants. You know already about the KMBM. It is due to the activity of the lateral meristem. So lateral meristem includes cork KMBM, intrafascicular KMBM, interfascicular cambium. So all these three are nothing but the lateral meristem. So lateral meristems brings about the secondary growth in gymnosperms and dicotyledonous plants. So they have this vascular cambium. Vascular cambium is a combination of intra and interfascicular cambium. We have discussed that during the secondary growth. So secondary growth is brought about by the activity of the lateral meristems like vascular cambium and cork cambium. So this causes the increase in the diameter of the organ, especially the stem. So it increases in the diameter of the organ, in girth of the organ, that is width of the organ or diameter of the organ, stem especially we are talking about. That secondary growth is brought about by the activity of the lateral meristem, vascular cambium and cork cambium. So this two types of growth you should just understand about. Primary growth is it leads to the elongation of the plants along their axis. That is, it increases the length of the plant. The girth or diameter or width of the plant is brought about by secondary growth due to the activity of lateral meristem like vascular cambium and cork cambium. Growth is measurable. That is the next concept that we are going to discuss about. See, at cellular level, growth occurs due to increase in the amount of protoplasm. So you know about the cell cycle, isn't it? So they are going to increase in their volume. There is synthesis of proteins, there is synthesis of DNA. Before the growth could take place, the interface stage you have noticed, that is G1 S and G2 phase. So they form the inter phase stage, isn't it? When at cellular level, growth occurs due to this interface in which there is an increase in the amount of protoplasm. When I'm talking it as protoplasm, it includes cytoplasm and nucleus. So the growth occurs due to increase in the amount of protoplasm, that is not only cytoplasm increase, but also increase in the nucleus. At the synthetic phase, DNA undergoes replication. So DNA is also increased in amount. Okay. At cellular level, growth occurs due to the increase in the amount of protoplasm. So increase in protoplasm is difficult to measure directly. So we cannot measure that at microscopic level. So growth is measured by parameters. So what are the parameters that we use for measuring growth? So increase in fresh weight. Growth also means adding on weight, increase in fresh weight, increase in dry weight, increase in length, increase in area, volume, and cell number. So all these are the measurable parameters. So increase in fresh weight, dry weight, length, area, volume, and cell number. So they are all the measurable parameters of growth in plants. Cell number, a maize root apical meristem can produce more than 17,500 new cells per hour. So just look at that huge number. A maize cell. Maize, you know already about the Zea maize or Jola, what we call it as corn. So a maize root apical meristem can produce more than 17,500 new cells per hour. So within 60 minutes, they produce 17,500 new cells. Okay, that is also a measurement of their increase in growth, isn't it? Increase in size, elongation that can take place. So that is growth that is taking place. Cell size. Cells in a watermelon may increase in size. See, cells in a watermelon may increase in size by up to 350,000 times. So the cells in a watermelon may increase in their size, the cell elongation. So by up to 350,000 times, they can increase in their size in case of watermelon. So length, growth of a pollen tube. So that is a measurement of length. See, after the germination of the pollen grain, when we say germination of pollen grain, they start producing the pollen tube. So the pollen tube grows through the style, it grows into the ovary, and it grows to enter into the ovule. Okay, then they are going to deposit their pollen tube contents in the synergids. So two sperm cells will be there. One sperm cell fuses with the egg cell, another sperm cell fuses with the central nucleus. So they are or the polar nuclei. So they are going to form zygote and the in primary endosperm nucleus. So this we call it as double fertilization. So we had discussed this in the topic of angiosperms. So length, you can see it in the growth of pollen tube is a very good parameter to very good example to demonstrate length as one of the parameters of growth. Okay, surface area, growth in a dorsiventral leaf. So the dorsiventral leaf might be very small and then they increase to maximum size. So this we call it as increase in surface area is also growth. So growth in a dorsiventral leaf is the increase in surface area. So growth is measurable. So growth at increase of protoplasm, it's very difficult to measure. So at cellular level, growth occurs due to the increase in the amount of protoplasm. So increase in protoplasm is difficult to measure directly. So we are going to measure growth by other parameters like increase in fresh weight, dry weight, length, increase in length, increase in area, increase in volume, and increase in cell number. For cell number, the root apical meristem of maize, they undergo within an hour, they produce 17,500 new cells. And for the cell size, so increase in cell size, the watermelon cells in a watermelon may increase in size by up to 350,000 times. For the increase in length, the growth of pollen tube is an example. For increase in surface area, growth in a dorsiventral leaf. From a small leaf, growth in a dorsiventral leaf is an example for increase in surface area. So the various phases of growth. So in the germination, if you are going to early seed, germinating seed, if you mark that regions like cell division, zone of cell division, zone of cell elongation, and zone of cell differentiation, and as they increase in their length, you can see that the markings would also be moving. Okay, so the detection of this slide is detection of zones of elongation by the parallel line technique. Okay, so zones of elongation by the parallel line technique. So zones A, B, C, D immediately behind the apex have elongated most. So these zones which we would have marked, you can mark it and then see the further germination. So you can notice this sort of A, B, C, and D. So they have elongated the most. So this is the zone of elongation. So A, B, C, and D are the zone of elongation. Okay. So there is phases of growth. There is a meristematic phase, elongation phase, maturation phase. So they will have this zone of cell division, cell elongation, and cell differentiation. Okay, in the meristematic phase, so meristems you already know, it is an undifferentiated mass of rapidly dividing cells found in the root and shoot apex. It is also found in the intercalary meristem in the internodal and nodal region. They are also found at the lateral side of the length of the plant, which we call it as lateral meristem. So meristematic phase, there is going to be, this is the cell division phase. It occurs in the meristem at the root apex and the shoot apex. Cells in this region have rich protoplasm and large nuclei. So cell walls are primary, thin and cellulosic with abundant plasmodesmatal connections. So they have abundant plasmodesmata, that is cytoplasmic connections are there with this meristematic cells. So the cells are going to be here uh, having rich protoplasm and large nuclei. So the cell walls are primary, they are thin and cellulosic, made up of cellulose with abundant cytoplasmic connections or plasmodesmatal connections. This is what you notice in meristematic phase. Okay. In the elongation phase, it occurs in cells proximal or just next or away from the tip. So it occurs in cells just above the meristematic zone. So cells have increased in vacuolation. So when there is an elongation phase, what are the changes that you can see in the during cell elongation? Increased vacuolation, increasing size, and new cell wall deposition. See, the cell wall was primary thin and cellulosic with cytoplasmic connections in meristematic cell, whereas in cell elongation phase, the cells have increased in vacuolation, size, and new cell wall deposition has taken place in elongation phase. So the third phase of growth is maturation phase. In this phase, the cells further away from the apex. So that is, they are further away from the cell division zone. They are just above the elongation phase. The maturation phase is just above the elongation phase. So they are further away from the root apex or shoot apex. The cells here in the maturation phase, they attain maximal size in terms of wall thickening and protoplasmic modifications. So in the maturation, they attain the maximal size in terms of wall thickening and protoplasmic modification, and they are differentiated, like they can form parenchyma or sclerenchyma or xylem, phloem. All that differentiation takes place in this maturation phase. So the growth of phases of growth are meristematic phase, elongation phase, and maturation phase. In maturation phase, it occurs, this maturation phase is just above the elongation phase. So it occurs in the cells further away from the root apex, that is the cell division zone. So the cells in the maturation phase, they attain maximal size in terms of thickening of wall as well as protoplasmic modifications. So that you notice in maturation phase. So next we are going to study about the growth rates. It is the increased growth per unit time. What is growth rate? The increased growth per unit time. The growth rate may be arithmetic or geometrical. So some of them have arithmetic growth, some of them are having geometrical growth. So in arithmetic growth, it follows in this following mitotic cell division, only one daughter cell, so they are going to continue to divide while the other differentiates and matures. On plotting the length of the organ against time, a linear curve is obtained. So you get a straight line curve. So that is seen in case of arithmetic growth. So in this arithmetic growth, following the mitotic cell division, only one daughter cell continues to divide. So only one daughter cells continues to divide while the others differentiates and matures. Okay. On plotting, so cells C, you can see it here. The zygote is divided. So they divide into cells, and only one cell they are capable of division, while the others differentiate and matures. So this we call it as the arithmetic growth. When you plot the length of the organ against time, a linear curve is obtained. A straight line curve is a linear curve is obtained, or you can call it as a straight line is obtained. Okay, so the cells are capable of division are going to be uh, only one daughter cell continues to divide while the other differentiate and matures. So this you find in case of arithmetic growth. In geometrical, so a linear curve is obtained. It is the increased growth per unit time. The growth rate may be arithmetic or geometrical. So the arithmetic growth you can also mathematically see. Arithmetic growth you can also mathematically, it is expressed as LT equals L naught plus RT. What is LT? Length at time T. So LT is length at time T. L0, you can read it as length at time 0. R is growth rate or elongation per unit time. So R is growth rate or elongation per unit time. This is the formula for arithmetic growth. So growth is increased growth per unit time. The growth may be arithmetical or geometrical. So the arithmetic growth we have already discussed. So it will be a linear curve. So only one cell will be continuing to undergo cell division while the other cells they differentiate and they mature. So the mathematically arithmetic growth is expressed as LT equals L0 plus RT, where LT is length at time t, L0 is length at time 0, and R is the growth rate or elongation per unit time. R is growth rate or elongation per unit time. So you have time on the x-axis and height of the plant on the y-axis. So you get a linear curve or a straight line you get, okay, for arithmetic growth. So geometrical growth, here both daughter cells continue mitotic cell division. So this is arithmetic growth is only one cell undergoes further division. So the others are all going to mature. So in geometric growth, both the cells undergo mitotic cell division, and those daughter cells again, all of them undergo mitotic cell division. Okay, in most systems, the initial growth is slow. So we call it as lag phase. Then it increases rapidly, so the growth phase increases rapidly. So we call it as the log or exponential phase. If nutrient supply is limited, the growth slowdowns and it leads to the stationary phase. On plotting the parameter of growth against time, so we are going to get a sigmoid curve in arithmetic growth. So you found that only one daughter cell is involved in cell division, and the others are all going to mature, and they undergo elongation and they undergo maturation. So only one daughter cell is increasing. So this is when you plot this on graph, you're going to get a linear curve. So, but in case of geometrical growth, both the daughter cells, they continue to undergo mitotic cell division. So in most systems, the initial growth is lagging phase, very slow it is. Then it increases rapidly. So that increased stage, we call it as log or exponential phase. If the nutrient supply is limited, the growth slows down, leading to a stationary phase. Okay, if the initial nutrient supply is limited, the growth slows down, leading to a stationary phase. On plotting the parameter of this growth against time, we get a sigmoid curve. So when we are plotting the growth against time, we get a sigmoid curve. So the sigmoid curve is seen in case of this geometrical growth. Okay. So the sigmoid curve, if you look into, is a characteristic of living organism growing in a natural environment. So it exhibits geometric growth. Okay, a sigmoid curve is a uh, characteristic of any living organism growing in natural environment. It is typical for all cell, tissues, and organs of a plant. So the sigmoid curve is typical for all cells, tissues, and organs of a plant. The exponential growth can be expressed as, there is a formula for that. W1 equals W0 e to the power of RT. So W1 is final size. It can be in terms of final size, can be weight, height, number, etc. W0 is initial size at the beginning of the period, that is initial weight, initial height, or initial number. R is growth rate. Here it is relative growth rate. R is growth rate. T is time of growth. E is base of natural logarithms. R is growth rate. T is time of growth. Okay, and E is base of natural logarithms. So you can have this geometrical growth can be represented by the equation W1 equals W0 into e to the power of RT. So W1 equals W0 e to the power of RT. Arithmetical formula was L W0 e to the power of RT. There is LT equals L0 plus R2 e to the power of RT. So where W1 is the final size, which can be weight, height, or number. W0 is initial size at the beginning of the period. Okay. So then we also have R is growth rate, T is time of growth, and E is base of natural logarithms. So still here, I would like to give an example of this is in case of plants. The sigmoid curve is seen even in our growth. As an infant, from an infant to up to uh, 10 or 12 years, still we attain the adolescence or puberty. So our growth is going to be a lag phase. It's a very slow phase of growth that you find. After this attainment of adolescence or puberty, see the growth rate is exponential phase. We suddenly reach our maximum growth takes place up to 18 years of age. Maximum growth phase takes place. That is log phase. So exponential phase. And after 18 years, the growth further is steady. There is no more of growth. As I told you, there would be cell division, but that cell division would be just to replace the dead and worn out cells. This is in case of human beings or in case of animals. Even here we find a sigmoid growth curve. So at high school, I always remember my friend, whenever this growth curve is there, I remember my friend. So at high school level, when we were at 8th standard, he purchased a, uh, new cycle and he increased the height of the seat very much taller level. He had increased the height of the seat. So by the end of 10th standard, he was the most tallest person in our class. But his increase in the length of his limbs were more than the upper part of the body. Above the waist, the height was not much, but increase in his limbs, lower limbs, was much more higher. So there he underwent such growth within the 3 years of uh, that was also due to the his what do you call it as uh, efforts in order to increase his limbs by cycling with a very heightened up seat. Okay, so I always remember this as whenever I discuss about this growth. Okay, even in human beings, we have this sigmoid curve. So initial period of growth is the lag phase, isn't it? As from an infant, the 1 year, 2 years, their development stages are very slow. Still 10 or 12 years, their development stages are very slow. After they attain adolescence or puberty, so they have maximum growth. This grand period of growth or exponential phase, it takes place at this stage. Still they attain 18 years of age. So the maximum growth is achieved there. Beyond 18 years of age, so the growth is at stationary phase. There is no more increase in length of the uh, individual. So there is a steady phase or stationary phase, it takes place. Okay. Now growth rates, we use that R. R is growth rate we set. Okay. So here, let us take an example in the slide. So this is even given in your book. So diagrammatic comparison of absolute and relative growth rates. See, both the leaves A and B have increased their area by 5 centimeter square in a given time to produce A1, B1 leaves. So the 5 centimeter square leaf, so it has undergone increased in their area by another 5 centimeter square, okay, surrounding them. So they have reached this 10 centimeter square in case of A leaf. So the final, after attaining this 5 centimeter square, the area of the leaf is A1. Initial area was A and increased after increased in their area, we call it as A1 and B1 leaves. So here it is 50 centimeter square and you notice that it has increased by 5 centimeter square. So that after the increase, we call it as B1. See, R is relative growth. It is also the measure of what is relative growth. It is the measure of the ability of the plant to produce new plant material. So it is a measure of the ability of plant to produce new plant material. We call it as efficiency index. So relative growth rate is the ability of the plant to produce new plant material or efficiency index. Hence, final size W1 depends on initial size W0. So quantitative comparisons between the growth quantity quantitative comparisons between the growth can be made in two ways. There is absolute growth rate, relative growth rate. So measurement and comparison of total growth per unit time. This we call it as absolute growth rate. So what is absolute growth rate? We are going to measure and compare the total growth per unit of time. So relative growth rate, measurement of growth of the given system per unit time expressed on a common basis. Example, per unit initial parameter. Okay. So the measurement of growth of the given system per unit time. So it is not the total growth measurement. If we have total growth measurement, we call it as absolute growth rate. Relative growth, so it is measurement of growth of the given system per unit time. So it is a growth of the given system per unit time. It is not total growth. Partial growth we are having here per unit time expressed on a common basis. Example, per unit initial growth is the per unit initial growth. So that is the growth rates. So it is the ability of the plant to produce new plant material. We also call the growth rate as efficiency index. So final size W1 depends on initial size W0. See, you have found here the surface area increased 5 centimeter square leaf where it doubled up when they increased by 5 centimeters square. Okay, whereas here, so when they added up 5 centimeters square, so the surface area increase was very less because 50 centimeters square is already larger area, so the growth is seen as very less. But here the growth is very high because it has doubled up from 5 centimeter square to 10 centimeter square. For a 50 centimeter square, additional 5 centimeter square is very less. So this is the comparison of absolute and relative growths. So absolute growth is so when the total growth is taken up, okay, from the initial level to the final stage, the total growth. So here you find the addition of 5 centimeter square is the total growth. So the absolute growth rate, relative growth rate is very less area per unit time. So it is for 1 hour or 2 hour, they might have seen, or 1 day or 2 day, the relative growth rate is just 5 centimeter square. So absolute growth rate is, it is going to be 10 centimeter square. So relative growth rate, it is going to be very less. Okay, just additional 5 centimeter square. The conditions which are required, essential elements for growth are water is required for cell enlargement. Water is an important component. Nearly 70 to 80% of a cell, it is made up of water. So turgidity of the cell, whenever the cells are turgid, it helps in growth. So turgidity of the cells helps in extension of growth. Water provides medium for enzymatic activities needed for growth. So this medium, it is an universal solvent, you know, water. So water provides a medium for the enzymatic activities, and this enzymatic activities are required for growth. See, DNA increasing by the activity of uh, DNA enzymes. Okay, so the other enzymes, they're all required for the growth. So water provides medium for the enzymatic activity, which is needed for growth. So oxygen, so the essential elements for growth, oxygen, it helps to release metabolic energy for growth. So the terminal oxidation of respiration, you can just recollect. So the oxidation of energy rich food molecules. So it helps to release metabolic energy from the energy rich molecules for growth. So oxidation is an important process for the release of energy. So nutrients, so the macro and micro elements. So we had discussed about NPK, sulfur, calcium, magnesium, manganese. We had discussed their role in the mineral nutrition chapter. So macro and micronutrients are needed for the synthesis of protoplasm and they act as a source of energy. So macro and micronutrients are required for the energy. Temperature, The plants have an optimum temperature at which plant growth is maximum. At optimum temperature, the plant growth is maximum. Okay, deviation from this range could be detrimental to its survival. So if they are going to increase in the temperature, that might lead to the death of the plant also. So optimum temperature, you can see maximum growth. Beyond that optimum temperature, it will be detrimental or destructive for the plant's survival. So light, photosynthesis it plays, and gravity affect certain phases or stages of growth. Light and gravity, they are going to affect certain phases or stages of growth. See, gravity, you can see that stem grows against the gravitational force. Root grows with the gravitational force. So the growth is also determined by these factors, isn't it? Stem grows towards the source of light. So they are positively phototrophic. Root grows away from the source of light. So they are negatively phototrophic. So stem grows against the gravitational force. So they are negatively geotrophic. Root grows towards the gravitational force. So they are positively phototrophic. So this is what you notice. Positively geotrophic. Root is positively geotrophic. Stem is negatively geotrophic. Stem is positively phototrophic, root is negatively phototrophic. They grow away from light. So this light and gravity also plays an important role in the growth. So they also affect the certain phases or stages of growth. So that is why the conditions for growth, you can see water availability is very much required. Turgidity of the cells increases growth. Water medium is required for the enzymatic activity, which is required for growth. Oxygen, oxidation of the energy rich molecules is going to release metabolic energy, which is required for growth. Growth requires a lot of energy, and that is obtained by the due to the activity of the oxygen by oxidation of energy rich molecules, and thus they release the energy for growth. So nutrients, macro and micronutrients are needed for the synthesis of protoplasm, and they also act as a source of energy. Then there is temperature, optimum temperature you find maximum growth, and in a lesser temperature the growth is minimum. Okay, light and gravity also affect certain phases or stages of growth. Okay, so I think we will proceed with this topic of differentiation, de-differentiation, and redifferentiation. So differentiation is a process in which the meristematic cells they differentiate and mature to perform specific functions. That is, they lose their ability to undergo cell division, and they are going to form the permanent tissue. So that we call it as differentiation. Differentiation is a process in which the meristem cells, that is root apical and shoot apical, they are and cambium, they differentiate, they lose their ability to undergo cell division, and they are going to mature to perform specific functions. In this, cell walls and protoplasm undergo structural changes. The capacity of cell division is lost in differentiation process. So they undergo structural changes and their capacity to divide is lost. So example is loss of protoplasm to form a tracheary element. Okay, they also develop very strong elastic lignocellulosic secondary cell wall to carry water to long distances even under extreme tension. Okay, so this topic I'll be discussing in the next class. Okay, uh,